Today we're going to talk about multitasking while texting and driving. We will describe the experiment we conducted to test our theory. Our study focuses on an important question. That question is, how does texting while driving affect attention compared to reading a message or having no distraction at all? We predicted that texting would lead to the worst driving performance because it requires visual, manual, and cognitive attention. Reading a text would still impair attention, but not as severely because it removes the manual component. We also predict that the no distraction condition should produce the best performance. To test this, we used a controlled driving simulation, Super Mario Bros. Wii, similar to actually driving, since the device used to control the simulation was a small steering wheel. We measured driving performance by counting missed hazards and collisions, essentially indicators of attention failure. We compared 3 distraction conditions: driving with no distraction, reading a text, and actively texting or replying. The goal was to isolate how each type of distraction influences attention. 10 participants completed the same Mario Kart Luigi Grand Prix course. We used the same track and hazards for every trial to keep conditions consistent. For each participant, we recorded collisions, drifting off the center of the track, and the total time to complete the course. This gave us multiple measures of attention and performance.
The results show that texting while driving produced the highest number of collisions and divisions from the center. Reading created moderate impairment. It's still dangerous, but not as extreme as texting. And as expected, the no distraction condition resulted in the fewest errors and the most stable driving. This graph shows the average amount of time it took participants to complete the driving course under each condition. As we see, the control condition with no distraction had the fewest completion time, and this is because participants stayed focused and were able to drive more efficiently. When participants read a text aloud, their completion time increased slightly. This shows that even mild distractions slows performance. The longest completion time occurred during the texting and responding condition. This makes sense because texting pulls visual, cognitive, and manual attention away from driving. The overall pattern aligns with our predictions that more distractions would have a slower performance rate. So this graph shows average collisions. It displays collision rates across 3 conditions, and the collisions increased with more tasks as this was to be predicted in our hypothesis. This graph shows the average lane diversions, and it illustrates how often drivers deviate from their lane. As one can see, the deviations increase with more multitasking.
Okay, so here we're looking at why the results matter. So there's a couple different reasons why these matter. The first one is a public safety issue. As technology has developed, it's become more and more of an issue. These issues have tried to be combated through various methods, one being in-vehicle systems, which we'll talk a little bit about later, which tries to keep texting hands-free, but we'll see a little bit of evidence about that later. When you text, your brain switches attention rapidly. We can't multitask the way that we think we can, so the delay in reaction time increases the crash risk by a significant amount. Our findings show how severe the impairment can be, even when we're in a controlled setting, and texting in a controlled environment, it still shows a significant impairment and causes significant issues. And studies like this help inform public policies and reinforce why texting and driving laws are necessary, and which the evidence will show. It'll prove to people why these laws are necessary. And then understanding these dangers that we're presenting helps change behavior. So this was the first source we looked at. This source found that texting increases mental workload and causes more glances away from the road. Drivers made more steering corrections, indicating that they had difficulty maintaining lane position, and this supports our conclusion that texting divides attention and reduces situational awareness. And this also showed that we didn't necessarily look at it in our experiment, but even in-vehicle systems don't completely resolve the problem. We talked about how having people in the vehicle is different than texting. You're not necessarily the attention's not the same. So they tried to look at in-vehicle systems as well, and it showed that even if you're not physically texting, it still had some effects in maintaining lane position, missing distractions, and things such as that. This experiment found that texting slows brake reaction times, increases lane drifting, and leads to more crashes. These results align with most perfectly with our own findings, strengthening the validity of our data. Their study shows that texting takes attention away at all levels, including manual, visual, and cognitive. And then this meta-analysis looks at many studies and confirm the same pattern. So texting leads to a slower reaction time, more collisions, and greater lane division, which is something we looked at before. Meta-analyses are powerful because they combine results across many experiments. So this strongly supports our findings.
Hi, so for some strengths and limitations of our study, a strength included that our study was conducted in a controlled environment. This let us control that each participant went through the exact same procedure in the same order, so that when we gather our data, we can use and analyze it, knowing that the study occurred in a controlled environment. However, some limitations include that this was a simulation where participants used a Wii remote rather than driving a real car with a steering wheel, brake, or gas pedal and taking those variables into account. But we were able to see similar resemblance between what we can hypothesize a real car and road and driver would behave and react to such distractions through this Wii game. Also, we did not have an equal number of women to men participants. In the future, we could use a larger sample size and more diverse to gather better and more reliable data. In addition to this, to maybe replicate a car better than using a Wii remote, we could use a driving simulator. Overall, our study confirmed that texting causes the largest performance decline, and it had caused the most diversions and collisions for participants. While reading was still harmful, it was less severe, causing less diversions and collisions than texting caused. And no distraction produced the best and safest performance. Our results do correlate with previous research and theoretical models. One specifically being Cared et al. Mentioned the study where participants were texting and had increased diversions from the road, increased collisions, is able to connect to our research and our results. Overall, we found that texting while driving significantly compromises attention and increases the risk of accidents. Thank you. You can find here our references used for developing and carrying out this study. Thank you.